Gideon was a simple farmer. He lived in fear of the Midianites. They were strong and cruel. They stole Israel's food and land. One day, an angel appeared to Gideon. The angel called him a mighty warrior. Gideon was confused. He felt small and afraid. But God saw something special in Gideon. He saw his potential. God chose Gideon to lead Israel to freedom. Gideon listened to God's voice. He knew this task was bigger than him, but he also knew God was with him. Gideon gathered an army, but God said it was too big. He told Gideon to send many soldiers home. God wanted to show his power. He didn't need a large army. He wanted Gideon to trust in him, not in numbers. Gideon obeyed. He was left with only 300 men. These men were scared, just like Gideon. But God promised victory. He would fight for them. Gideon was still afraid. He asked God for a sign. He laid out a fleece on the ground. If the fleece is wet with dew but the ground is dry, he prayed, then I will know you are with me. The next morning the fleece was soaked. The ground was dry. God had answered Gideon's prayer. The 300 men prepared for battle. They didn't have swords or spears. Instead, God gave them unusual weapons. Each man had a trumpet, a clay jar, and a torch inside the jar. These were not weapons of war, but weapons of faith. They crept towards the Midianite camp at night. They could hear the enemy. The Midianites were many. The Israelites were few. Gideon and his men surrounded the enemy camp. Then Gideon gave the signal. They smashed their jars. The torches blazed brightly in the night. They blew their trumpets. The sound echoed through the camp. "For the Lord and for Gideon," they shouted. The Midianites were startled awake. They were confused and afraid. Section 6. Chaos in the night. The Midianites panicked. They couldn't see clearly in the darkness. The sudden noise and light terrified them. They thought they were surrounded by a huge army. They started attacking each other in the confusion. The sound of trumpets and shouts filled the air. It was a scene of complete chaos. Section 7. The Midianites' flight. The Midianites, in their fear, turned and ran. They fled in every direction, trying to escape the unseen enemy. Gideon and his men chased after them. They pursued the Midianites throughout the night. The Midianites were defeated. Their army was scattered. God had given Gideon a great victory. Section 8. Victory at dawn. As the sun began to rise, the battle was over. The Israelites stood victorious. The Midianites were gone. The light of dawn brought peace to the land. It symbolized Israel's freedom from their enemies. God had kept his promise. He had given them victory, not through their strength, but through their faith. Section 9. A legacy of faith. Gideon's story is a reminder to us all. God can use anyone, even the most ordinary person, to do extraordinary things. When we are weak, God is strong. When we are afraid, God is our courage. Gideon's victory teaches us to trust in God's plan, even when it seems impossible. He is faithful, and he will never let us down.